Will Shedeur Sanders play in preseason week 2? Browns HC drops update on QB's injury. Shedeur Sanders looked like he was finally finding his rhythm with the Cleveland Browns. After a shaky start to training camp, the rookie quarterback earned praise from coaches following his preseason debut against the Carolina Panthers, giving fans hope he might crack the roster. Then came Tuesday's joint practice with the Philadelphia Eagles, and everything changed. How does Shedeur Sanders' injury impact his roster chances? The oblique injury Sanders suffered during the physical practice session has thrown a wrench into what was already Cleveland's most compelling storyline of the summer. The four-way quarterback competition was expected to favor veterans Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett over rookies Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, but Sanders had been building momentum with each practice rep. For Sanders, this isn't just about competing for a starting job. He's fighting to make the 53-man roster, which makes every preseason snap crucial for his NFL future. The timing couldn't be worse. Head coach Kevin Stefanski addressed Sanders' status Wednesday, suggesting the rookie will likely miss Saturday's game against Philadelphia. "We're going to put him down for a little bit here. We'll treat it day to day," Stefanski said, though he stopped short of completely ruling Sanders out. The oblique injury occurred during what Stefanski described as an intense practice session. Facing Philadelphia's front seven proved challenging, with the Eagles bringing size, wingspan, and physicality that tested Cleveland's offense. While it remains unclear exactly when Sanders got hurt, the Browns are taking a cautious approach to prevent further damage. What does this mean for Cleveland's quarterback depth chart? Sanders' absence creates ripple effects throughout the Browns' quarterback room. Tyler Huntley, the fifth quarterback added this offseason, will likely see expanded reps on Saturday. Meanwhile, the team hopes Gabriel will be cleared to play at least a series or two. Kenny Pickett remains sidelined with his own hamstring injury, leaving Cleveland's quarterback competition in disarray. What was supposed to be a competitive four-way battle between two veterans and two rookies has turned into a juggling act just to get through the preseason. The Browns had to bring in Huntley specifically to have enough healthy bodies for practice and games, though he's unlikely to steal a roster spot from the original four competitors. This situation is far from what Cleveland envisioned when they mapped out their preseason evaluation process. Given the nature of oblique injuries, Sanders will likely be held out this week and return next week to prepare for the final preseason game against the Los Angeles Rams. For a player whose roster spot isn't guaranteed, missing valuable preseason reps represents a significant setback in his bid to make the team. Browns fans continue to view Sanders as the quarterback with the highest ceiling on the roster, making his health and development crucial for the franchise's long-term plans. The stadium smelled like fresh-cut grass and fried anticipation. That particular preseason tang that tastes of possibility and worry in equal measure. Coaches walked with clipboards, trainers with cold packs, and reporters carried the practiced hunger of people waiting for the exact moment a narrative would tip one way or another. In the middle of it all, Shedeur Sanders sat on the bench like a man holding his breath. The bandage at his temple was neat, the shoulder taped in a way that suggested more tenderness than the highlight reels appreciate. He watched the younger players run drills, every fiber of him cataloging the motion of feet, the tilt of helmets, the little tells that only quarterbacks notice. You could see it in the way his eyes tracked. Not just the ball, but the gaps in the defense, the timing between linemen, the places where patience would turn into opportunity. Then came the coach, measured, public, the kind of voice that keeps locker rooms from tilting into chaos. He did not speak in absolutes. He rarely did. But when he stepped to the podium, the microphones leaned in like curious flowers. "We're being careful," he said. The phrase landed like an anchor. He's progressing. We'll see how he responds to the work today and tomorrow. We're not going to rush it. It wasn't a yes. It wasn't a no. It was a hinge, the thin iron moment between hope and prudence. The headlines, of course, wanted a verdict. Will he play? Will he sit? The answer they wanted was sharp and definitive. But preseason doesn't hand out finalities. It hands out signs. A training rep that goes well, a grimace after a sprint, a note from the medical staff, the length of the warm-up the player chooses. Those are the little clues that build a decision. Inside the locker room, the atmosphere was different. Teammates moved around him with the easy intimacy of people who had practiced being family when the cameras were off. Old veterans offered quiet nods. Rookies sought him out not to ask questions, but to study the way he prepared. "You good?" one asked, more ritual than curiosity. Shedeur nodded. Not the performative nod for cameras, but the private one that says, "I'm here and I'm listening." There is a peculiar ballet that precedes each return from injury. First, the body negotiates with pain. Where can I push? Where must I yield? Then confidence returns in stages. A crisp throw into a net, a read and release in a controlled setting, a scramble that ends in the pocket instead of the turf. The coaches watch for rhythm, durability, and that intangible currency, calm under the bright lights. For quarterbacks, the head is often the laggard. The shoulder may heal, the knee may strengthen, but the head needs rehearsal, of timing, of trusting a repaired limb, of trusting the guy next to you. Shedeur's day before the game was a mixtape of small victories. He took snaps with the scout team, crisp enough to make a coach glance up. He moved in the pocket without the hesitation that sometimes follows a hard hit. Later, in the trainer's tent, he flexed his throwing arm for the cameras, the motion clean, the smile cautious but real. Nothing in a preseason game is permanent, but everything feels like a test. The coach's update was essentially an invitation to patience. "We'll make a call tomorrow morning," he said, eyes level with the room. "We want to see how he responds to contact in practice, and how he feels before we put him out there. There are reps for development and reps for risk. We're balancing both." Fans responded the way fans always do. A flood of optimism, then a trickle of trepidation, then a sudden, unmistakable roar of speculation. Social feeds filled with takes, some warm, some cold, many written faster than the facts could catch up. But in the center of the noise, there was an older truth. Preseason is less about wins or losses and more about answers. Sometimes those answers are gentle, sometimes they sting. As the sun slipped behind the stadium, Shedeur walked the field alone for a few minutes. He ran a few routes with an assistant, footfalls steady, breath visible in the cooling air. A maintenance worker sweeping the end zone looked up and nodded, not at the fame of the name, but at the simple human ritual of show up and practice. That nod was a small thing, but in moments like this, small things collect into courage.